that you actually anticipate will happen. But there are some things that you've got to do in that night. And the one thing that you have to do in that night is that you have to tarry. For those of you who are taking notes, I've got 3 T's to give you. 3 T's. First T is tarry. One of the problems with the Christian community today, and I suppose it has been for a long time, is we do not have much patience with God. We do not have much patience with God. We sometimes, Mr. Russell, would like to and do tell God when God is supposed to deliver us. Some will even go as far as to give God the day, the time, and the hour that God is supposed to come to our rescue. We become impatient with God, and it's not just contemporary people. I think of Abraham, and Sarah, who were given the promise of a son, and that promise of becoming an heir to so many people in his family that they would outnumber the grains of sand on the shore. That was the promise. The angel came, gave it to them, they received it. And then they began to wait, but God wasn't moving fast enough. Abraham looked at himself and said, well, I can't do nothing. Sarah looked at herself, she says, I'm past the age of childbearing. And nothing was happening, so they took it upon themselves to subvert the work of the Holy Spirit. And somehow, Abraham, and I'm careful with this, Abraham received some kind of spiritual, I'll just say aphrodisiac. No disrespect. But God had given him the wherewithal that he could produce a child. And Sarah, with her impatience, sends her maidservant over to Abraham. And Abraham pretends that he's not interested. Abraham didn't. And so he reluctantly took in this young, pretty lady and conceived the child Ishmael. And God was not pleased with that because the promise was not to Abraham and Hagar. The promise was to Abraham and Sarah. That is a case where two people of God who are prominent in the Word of God were not patient enough to wait for God to move. And in God's time, God did move. And here comes Isaac. And to let you know how deep our disobedience to God can go, it is Abraham, Israel, and Isaac, Palestine, still fighting over the birthright because Abraham pretended that he was not interested. We have to learn how to wait, church. Wait on God. If you, whatever it is you're praying for, believe, but wait on the Lord. Tarry is the old Christian word. Wait for God to show up. And the old saying in the church where I came from, he may not come when you want. But I declare God is always on time. God has never been late for an appointment. God always shows up. And everything that God has said is yes and amen. God always does what God promises that God will do. But you and I must learn to tarry in our nights. Wait on the Lord and be of good courage, and he will strengthen your heart. They that wait upon the Lord shall renew strength. They shall mount up on wings as eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint. Wait, I say, on the Lord. Wait and let God work. And if you wait while God works, after a while, your God is going to work it out. There is verse 10. And then the second one is, as you look out on the landscape of your trouble in your life, if you do wait in time, you'll see that the sun will begin to crack the sky. That those storm clouds will start to pass over in the east. The darkness is being pushed aside by the brightness of the sun. And there's something about morning time. Something about the morning time, if you put it in the right context, it is an opportunity for you to try it again. Something about the morning time that refreshes the spirit, and if you allow yourself to discover that whatever you were not able to accomplish in the night or yesterday, that perhaps this is the day that God is going to turn things around for me. And so I have to be willing not only to wait on God, but I've got to be willing to trust in God. That is one of my great problems in the contemporary church. So little God talk. Our technology has pushed aside God talk. Talking with God and listening to the voice of God speaking to us. Computer will not resolve spiritual problems. Computer and screens will not bring down strongholds. Technology will not fill the soul with the love of God to bring up the heart and move the stony ground and cause you to say, I will trust in the Lord. Trust factor. If the church can ever get back to the trust factor, where we kneel together, pray together and for one another, then you'll see God move in your life. That's second, you got to trust in God. You ever find yourselves trusting in yourself? Will you put your trust in you? Perhaps because you've lost confidence in everybody else. And you say, I'll do it myself. I can do it. I don't need any help. I don't need anybody else. But somewhere I heard the wisdom right. Solomon says, you ought to, and then I'll paraphrase that, you better trust in the Lord with all of your heart. Not half, all of it. Trust in the Lord. All your heart. And lean not unto your own understanding. Because if you lean on your own understanding, after a while, you're going to run up against a problem that you're not going to be able to handle. Lean not into your own understanding in all of your ways. Before you call your lawyer, before you call your doctor, before you call your palm reader or bookie or whoever it is that you reach out to, before you call any of those folks, in all of your ways, acknowledge Him. Have a talk with God. See if God has something to say about it. Let God in on the discussion. Let God into the discourse. Let God into your problem. In all of your ways, acknowledge Him. And then you'll have the promise that He will direct your path. Let me say all honesty. I don't like all of the ways that God leads me, because some places that God leads me to go and things to do, I really don't want to do. Does anybody besides me will make that? You know God, you know it's the Lord saying, and like Jonah, you saying, Lord, I'll go, but I don't want to go. And when I get there, the folk who are there when I get there are going to see on my face that I don't want to be here. But if you will go where God sends you and do what God calls for you to do, then therein lies another answer to how to get through the night until morning comes. You got to trust that when you get up out of the bed, that God has you in God's care. You climb out of the bed, some of us don't have a choice. You young folk over there, y'all just jump on out of the bed. Just jump and see what's there. And some of the rest of us, we'd like to do that. They used to it. Now we got plenty of time to pray before we get out of bed, because it will take a good while for us to get up on our feet. So you might as well use that time for prayer. I'm not going to be long. Where's Israel? I think it was handling the travel arrangement candidates for this pulpit. There's a hotel down there. Didn't even have a sign out in front. It was a new age type room, and I had my whole family with me. And the room was about the size of this little area. It had some nice furniture and stuff, but it was very upscale. But that morning, when I tried to get out of bed, the bed was so low. And it was a watershed moment for me, because I didn't know whether it was the bed being low, or I had just come to a point in my life where I just couldn't stand up from a night's sleep. But anyway, the point is, before you begin your day, when the sun has come up and you see that it is shining, take time to acknowledge God. Put your trust in it. And then the final T, as I get ready to go to my chair, is you've got Terry, you've got trust, and then the last one is try. Try. They'll say you can make it if you do what? And you might want to ask yourselves today here in Canaan, am I not where I want to be because really and truly I know I haven't tried very hard? Am I the one, or are you the one who is waiting for, like a man at the pool of Bethesda, for somebody to come and get you and take you out into the water? Are you the one who builds your self-confidence by looking at the lack of confidence in others? By saying, God, at least I'm not as bad as she is. Are you the one? And you look at it, I heard Jesse Jackson say one time, and it's true, you cannot hold somebody in a ditch unless you stay down in that ditch with them. You're not coming out of the ditch trying to hold me in there. You got to stay down there. We both in the ditch. Try to please God. Try to take consolation and try to take some source of encouragement from knowing that God has brought me through the night. And now the sun shines. That I've cried all night long, but morning has come. And then the hymn writer said it best when he said, by and by. Don't know when, don't know where, don't know how, but by and by. up now. Morning will come. You've come too far to turn back. Morning will come. Sun will shine in your life again. Morning will come. Everything is going to be all right. Morning will come. And the beams of the sun will brighten up your heart so that you'll keep on running this race. Run it with patience. Run it when you feel good. Run it when you don't feel so well. But keep on running the race. Morning will come. Weeping might endure in the night. But if I just wait on the Lord, and if I put my trust in Him, and if I try to do the best I can, I know that victory shall be mine. Have I got a witness today? You have a believe tonight? You have a believe tonight? Let the night of